Good morning, Messiah. It's good to be with you for this Wednesday devotion. I want to say hi to all our members and friends and neighbors, both near and far. Just finished a Zoom meeting with the congregation, open to the whole congregation. We had just over 30 people who tuned in to talk about reopening the congregation and what that might look like and some of the steps and the processes involved with doing that. And it was a great conversation, good spirit, lots of good ideas, and definitely a sense that we should do this slowly, deliberately, and let's do it safely so that as we do go forward, we can be a community together that is respectful and responsible to one another, and also doing our mission together. Well, the devotional text that I picked from the lectionary today is actually from the vigil of Pentecost, that is this coming Saturday. And I picked a section from Romans 8. It's verses 22 through 27. So I just want to read that quickly and then dive right into a couple thoughts before I am done and bless you all out into a beautiful Wednesday. So Paul writes in Romans 8, "We know that the whole creation has been groaning in labor pains until now. And not only the creation, but we ourselves, who have the first fruits of the Spirit, groan inwardly while we wait for adoption, the redemption of our bodies. For in hope we were saved. Now hope that is seen is not hope. For who hopes for what is seen? But if we hope for what we do not see, we wait for it with patience. Likewise, the Spirit helps us in our weakness. For we do not know how to pray as we ought, but that very Spirit intercedes with sighs too deep for words. And God, who searches the heart, knows what is the mind of the Spirit, because the Spirit intercedes for the saints according to the will of God." And again, that's Romans 8, verses 22 through 27. And I just want to pick up on a couple things here, because it's really sort of informed by the meeting that I just had, and I want to share these thoughts with you. And there's a certain sense of, this idea of hope, which, as I read Paul, I always think about as leaning into something that's out there in the future that we can't see. We don't know exactly what it is, its shape, its contours, how it will interact with us. This is God's future for us that we're leaning into, hoping into. We know it's good. We know that the future is good. And as Paul writes, we have a certain weakness where we can't lean into that and trust that that future that God has for us is good. But the Spirit intercedes, and maybe I always think of it as draws us forward into a posture of trust and hope into what God has for us in God's good future. Now, here in the middle of pandemic and with so much uncertainty, I think this verse is just absolutely perfect for this day, today, Wednesday. We don't know what the next hours or days are going to bring. I know a lot of us are very concerned or nervous or wondering about, as states begin to open up, as people begin to interact more, as we all, ask ourselves, how are we going to practice these new guidelines for social distancing when there's more activity and more people gathering together? What's it going to look like? What's going to happen? Is the virus going to make a big comeback? What's going to happen? We don't know, and so I think there's a certain level of anxiety. You couple that with anxiety people have for their loved ones, especially those who might be more susceptible to the coronavirus or have underlying health issues. You couple that with economic concerns. You couple that with very personal job security concerns. And for a lot of families, just the concern about how are we going to get food on the table today, much less tomorrow. What can we lean into? What is God providing for us in the midst of our uncertainty, our insecurity, and our anxieties? Well, I think I was going to say the easy answer to that, but there is no easy answer. The faithful answer is that the witness of Scripture, the story of Scripture, the stories of our faith have to do with God being faithful to God's people in all the circumstances of their lives. Even you take Abraham and Sarah out on their journeys, called by God. Abraham not always having the greatest behavior, putting Sarah in danger and himself in danger in different ways. And yet in the midst of their mistakes and missteps, God continues to bless them. God continues to say, through you, I'm going to create a nation, and out of this nation, a blessing is going to be brought to the world. So there are stories of faith like that talk about God's presence and faithfulness to us, even as we struggle and strive and try to make the best of the day, sometimes choosing rightly and doing correctly, and other days not so much. I think about the Lord's Prayer as a resource for us. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. That's a statement of faith right there. Thy kingdom come. It's a statement of hope that as we lean into the future, God's way of organizing things is going to be out there for us to see and experience. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Here you go. Give us this day our daily bread, as a statement of hope and faith as much as it is a statement of petition and asking. We both want to ask, but we also say we trust God that you will provide for us in this day. And like the folks out in the desert when they were learning not to hoard, but only take enough manna for the day and not too much because it'll start rotting and stinking, we now are in that position of being wanderers in a desert, not knowing what the next day is going to bring, simply trusting that this day, today, Wednesday, God is going to provide for us how we need. Of course, God gives us one another, and in our mutual conversation as brothers and sisters in the faith, we can help out with those kinds of needs, and we can help begin to be living instruments of that future of God coming toward us that we can lean into. All of that is part of who we are and how we can live together in hope. For who hopes for what is seen? But if we hope for what we do not see, and here's the key, we wait for it with patience. Oh my. Oh my. How often have you felt impatient? I feel it constantly. I am totally not a great person with patience. I want to be on to whatever's next. I want God's future to be here right now. I am not a very patient person. And yet Paul, as he writes, but if we hope for what we do not see, we wait for it in patience. Patience is not, I think, something magical that we acquire. Patience for me is a practice that we choose to do. That this day, Wednesday, here's my takeaway for all of us. Let's commit ourselves to practice the discipline of patience. How we do that? When we begin to feel ourselves getting anxious, we breathe. When whatever it is pressing in on us that doesn't feel good or is getting us out of sorts, we breathe. Likewise, the Spirit helps us in our weakness, Paul writes, for we do not know how to pray as we ought, but the very Spirit intercedes with sighs too deep for words. Breathe in, breathe out. In our sighs, let the Spirit fill us. Grant us the Spirit's calming peace. allow us to maintain a posture of patience toward God in the midst of our daily lives. Well, that's what I have for us today. Continue to check us out on our website and then in our Sunday live casts of worship. There's more material on our website all the time, also on our Facebook page. Be a part of it. This is not a time to be passive. It's a time to be active. From your home, when you're out jogging, walking the dog, when you're, talking on the phone or having FaceTime or Zoom meetings with people. This is a time where we get to be the people of faith. There's nothing passive about this time we're in. It's a time to be active. Love and grace, peace and truth are the gifts that God has given us, gifts that we get to share as brothers and sisters, not just with one another, but with everyone we come in contact with in our world this day, Wednesday. So, peace be with you. I love you all. I hope you have a great day. Be safe out there, and get to see you soon. Blessings.